I didn't recognize him at first. He was wearing a tailored suit, clean shave, confident smile. The kind of guy you'd expect to lead a board meeting, not steal your lunch money behind the gym. But then he said my name, the way only someone from my past would, and it hit me like a punch to the gut. It was him, Ryan Blake. The guy who made 4 years of high school feel like a slow-motion prison sentence. The guy who taped my sketchbook to the lockers and called me Matt the Mouse because I spoke too softly in class. And now he was here, in my office, applying for a job at my company. My name is Matthew Cole. I'm 38 years old. I run a mid-sized design and branding firm in Philadelphia. Nothing flashy, but we're good at what we do. We help small businesses look bigger, and big businesses feel personal. That's our pitch. We started out as a 3-person team in a co-working space 10 years ago. Now we've got 27 employees, a waiting list of clients, and our name on the wall. I'm proud of what we built, because I know what it took to get here. I didn't come from money, didn't come from connections, just long nights, hard work, and the kind of hunger that grows when you spend your childhood trying not to be noticed. High school was hell. I wasn't unpopular exactly, I just invisible. And on the days I was noticed, it was usually by guys like Ryan Blake, tall, athletic, loud, captain of the lacrosse team, voted most likely to succeed and best smile in the same yearbook. He wasn't just popular, he was untouchable, and I was the opposite of that. I liked drawing, quiet, T-shirts that didn't draw attention. I didn't date, didn't party. I worked part-time at a print shop and spent weekends helping my mom fix up our broken-down townhouse. Ryan? He noticed all that. He noticed the way I slouched when I walked, like I was trying to disappear. The way I flinched when someone raised their voice. He took that as an invitation. First it was name-calling, then accidental shoulder bumps in the hallway, then my locker getting jammed, my homework going missing, my yearbook photo getting defaced with a Sharpie. It was never enough to go to the principal, never enough to prove, but it was enough to break something in me. I started counting down the days to graduation by sophomore year. By senior year, I had a full ride to an art school out of state, and I left without looking back. I never expected to see him again. But life has a twisted sense of humor. The day Ryan walked into my office, I was reviewing portfolios for a new senior project manager. We'd posted the job listing a few weeks earlier. High-level position, good pay, lots of responsibility. I was flipping through a printed resume when Kelly, my assistant, buzzed in. "Next applicant is here, Ryan Blake." I didn't flinch at the name. It was common enough. Could be anyone. He stepped in before I looked up, all handshakes and polished charm. "Matthew Cole," he said. "Wow, long time." I looked up, and time stopped. He smiled. That same perfect smile from high school. "You remember me, right? Ryan Blake? Lincoln High?" I did. I remembered the locker slams, the whispered taunts, the fake love notes he made someone pass me in history class. But I didn't say any of that. I just nodded. "Yeah," I said, "I remember." He didn't seem fazed, just laughed lightly, like we were old teammates catching up. "I saw your company was hiring, figured I'd shoot my shot. Crazy where life takes us, huh?" I nodded again, still processing. He sat across from me, opened his portfolio like it was just another interview, and I listened. I asked questions. I reviewed his resume. Turns out he'd gone into project management after college, worked at a few firms in New York, then moved back to Philly to be closer to family. On paper, he was qualified, maybe even overqualified. But all I could think was, what does he remember? Did he know who I was? What he did? Did he think I'd forgotten? Or worse, forgiven? I didn't make a decision that day. After he left, I stared at his resume for a long time. Then I looked up his LinkedIn, his Instagram, his wife, his kid. He had a golden retriever named Scout. He'd run a marathon last year. He posted number throwback photos from high school with captions like, "Miss these days." I felt sick. I hadn't posted a single thing from high school, didn't own a single photo from those years. And he looked back at them with nostalgia? The next morning, I called my best friend Jeremy. We went to college together. He's now our head of operations. "I need you to look at this guy's resume," I said. "Sure. Why?" "He bullied the hell out of me in high school. It was relentless." Jeremy paused. "You okay?" "I don't know." "He applied for the project manager job." Long pause. "Want me to toss the resume?" I didn't answer right away, because part of me wanted to say yes. But another part of me, the part that had spent years crawling out of my own shell, wanted to face this. Wanted to see what kind of man Ryan Blake had become. "Let's call him in for a second-round interview," I said. Jeremy raised an eyebrow. "You sure?" "Yeah," I said quietly. "I think I need to." The second interview was scheduled for Friday morning. I barely slept the night before. It felt surreal, the idea that I was voluntarily inviting Ryan Blake back into my office, not as an intruder from the past, but as a potential colleague, someone who might soon walk these halls with a company badge and email address. I kept asking myself, what am I hoping to find? Closure? Justice? Proof that he'd changed? Or some secret desire to put him in a position where I finally had the power? Whatever it was, I told myself I'd stay professional. At 9:58 a.m., he was already in the lobby. He smiled again when he entered, wore a navy blazer this time, confident posture, firm handshake. "Good to see you again, Matt," he said like we were old friends. I ignored the nickname. No one here calls me Matt. Jeremy joined the interview. He hadn't told Ryan anything. He just played the role of co-founder and department lead. We went through the formalities, project scenarios, team communication, hypothetical client conflicts. Ryan answered all of it with polish and ease. It was like he'd practiced every line. But it wasn't robotic. It was charming, effortless. If I didn't know who he was, I'd be impressed. Hell, even knowing who he was, part of me still was. But that didn't mean I trusted him. About 40 minutes in, Jeremy asked to step out to take a client call. That left just the two of us in the room. Ryan leaned back in his chair a little. "You've built something great here," he said genuinely. "Really. I did some digging after our last meeting. This place, it's got a reputation." I nodded. "We try to take care of our clients and our team." He smiled at that, then hesitated. "Hey, I've been meaning to ask, in high school, was I ever a jerk to you?" I looked up slowly. I hadn't expected him to bring it up. Not like that. He must have seen something shift in my eyes because he added quickly, "I don't mean to be weird, it's just, I've been thinking about it. Your name rang a bell when I saw it on the listing, but I didn't connect it right away. Then after our first meeting, I remembered some stuff and, I don't know, I feel like maybe I owe you an apology." I said nothing. He continued, slower now. "I was kind of a dick in high school, to a lot of people. I guess I thought it was harmless or funny, but I've realized in the last few years how much crap guys like me got away with. And I'm sorry. If I ever made your life harder or miserable, I mean it." I studied his face. He wasn't flinching, wasn't laughing. No trace of irony. And that, oddly, made it harder. Because if he'd brushed it off or tried to gaslight me, I would have had every reason to slam the door on his application. But he didn't. He apologized, and part of me hated how much I'd needed to hear it. "Thanks," I said finally. "That means something." He nodded, then added quietly, "I was a mess back then. My dad was not a great guy. Home was rough. Doesn't excuse it. Just, I don't know. I acted out, hurt people. I regret a lot of it." That gave me pause, because I remembered something now. something I hadn't thought of in decades. One afternoon in junior year, I saw Ryan in the parking lot after school, sitting in his car alone, fists clenched on the steering wheel, eyes red. He hadn't seen me. I'd kept walking. Back then, I didn't care why he was angry. I just wanted to avoid being the next target. But now, I wondered how much he had been hiding, too. When Jeremy came back into the room, we wrapped up. Ryan shook both our hands, thanked us again, and left. The door closed. Silence settled. Jeremy raised his eyebrow. "Well?" I exhaled. "I don't know." "Did he bring it up?" "Yeah. He apologized. Said he regrets it." Jeremy nodded slowly. "You believe him?" "I think so. I don't know what I was expecting. But he said all the right things. And, professionally, he's a great candidate." "So what now?" That was the question. That weekend, I took a walk through my old neighborhood, drove past Lincoln High. The building hadn't changed much. Still the same tan bricks, the same chain-link fence, the same parking lot where I'd once gotten my math notes soaked after Ryan spilled a bottle of soda on my backpack. I sat in my car and just watched the school. I thought about who I was then, and who I was now. Then I asked myself one more time, would hiring him make me feel like I'd won, or like I'd betrayed the version of myself who used to flinch in the hallways? That night I called my mother. We don't talk as often as we should. She's retired now, living in Delaware. She answered with surprise. "Matt, everything okay?" "Yeah, just, wanted your opinion on something." I told her the story, the name, the situation. She was quiet for a while. Then she said something I didn't expect. "You always had this need to prove yourself, to get approval, but maybe this time you don't have to do either. Maybe this time you get to decide, not out of spite or fear, but because it's your table now." I sat with that. It's your table now. Monday morning, I called Ryan. He answered on the second ring. "Hey, Ryan Blake?" "Hi, Ryan. It's Matthew Cole." "Hey, great to hear from you." I paused for a beat, then said, "We'd like to offer you the position." There was a silence, then a breath of genuine surprise. "Wow, thank you. I really appreciate that. We'll send over the formal paperwork this afternoon. You'll start next Monday, if that works?" "Absolutely. I'll be there." We hung up, and I just sat there, staring out the window. I didn't feel triumphant. I didn't feel defeated. I just felt ready. Because I knew what I'd done wasn't about revenge. It wasn't about proving anything. It was about being the man I'd worked so hard to become, someone who leads with clarity, not wounds. Ryan started the following Monday. He showed up 15 minutes early, brought coffee for the whole team, and made a point to thank every person individually for the opportunity. I watched the way he moved through the office. Easy, polite, respectful. A little too polished, maybe, like someone trying to erase an old reputation. He didn't act entitled. He didn't try to overcompensate either, just did the work. At first, no one on the team knew about our shared past. I didn't tell them. Neither did he. We kept it professional. Two adults navigating a workplace, not a playground. But the thing about old memories is that they echo in ways you don't expect. The second week, we were in a brainstorm session when I glanced up and saw Ryan leaning back in his chair, arms crossed. Not smug, not aggressive, just listening. And for a second, I wasn't in the office anymore. I was 16 again. Sitting in the back row of Mr. Carson's English class, watching Ryan mock another kid for reading out loud too slowly. I remembered the smirk, the sideways comments, the way his laughter could make other people shrink. I shook it off, but that night, it stuck with me. About 3 weeks in, he and I stayed late on a Friday to finish a proposal for a major client. Everyone else had left. It was just the two of us and the hum of the AC. I was typing notes when Ryan said quietly, You know, sometimes I wonder if I should have passed on this job. I looked up. Why? He hesitated. Because working here with you, I keep remembering who I was back then, and it's not easy. I leaned back in my chair. It's not supposed to be. He nodded slowly. Yeah, I figured. We were quiet for a while. Then he added, but maybe that's part of the reason I needed to come here. I didn't ask what he meant. I just let the silence sit. Because for the first time, I realized he wasn't here to escape his past. He was here to confront it. 2 months in, Ryan was good. More than good, actually. He took initiative, got along with everyone, landed 2 new accounts and fixed a broken workflow that had been frustrating our project managers for months. One of our junior designers even told me, he's the easiest guy I've ever collaborated with, super chill. That surprised me more than it should have. I wanted to believe people could change, but I kept waiting for the mask to slip. And then it did. Sort of. It was a Thursday. Rainy. The kind of afternoon that makes everyone tired and distracted. We had a client call scheduled at 3 p.m. Ryan was supposed to present a revised pitch deck, one he'd finalized the night before. At 2:58 p.m., he wasn't at his desk. I checked Slack. No messages. Called his phone. No answer. I took over the call. Improvised. The meeting went fine, but I was frustrated. 20 minutes later, he walked in soaked, holding a bag of takeout. Sorry, he said, catching his breath. I thought the meeting was at 3:30. No, I said, keeping my voice even. It was at 3. We covered for you. He looked genuinely shocked. I swear I had it in my calendar for 3:30. I'm sorry, man. I nodded, but didn't say much else. That night, he sent me a long email apologizing again, explaining that he'd been running lunch to his sister who'd had minor surgery and was stuck at home. I'm not making excuses, he wrote. Just wanted you to know I'd never blow off work without a reason. It would have been easy to dismiss it. But something about the detail, his sister, made me pause. The next day, I asked him about it in the break room. She okay? I said casually. He looked surprised. Yeah, she's better now. It was just outpatient stuff. I'm all she's got, so... He trailed off. Then he looked me in the eye and said, Thanks for not chewing me out yesterday. I deserved it. I shrugged. Everyone makes mistakes. What matters is how they handle them. He nodded. I used to handle them by deflecting, blaming, making someone else feel small. You don't do that now, I said. He gave a small smile. Not anymore. I didn't tell Ryan this, but after that, something in me started to relax. I stopped watching him like he was about to snap. I started seeing him for who he was now, not who he'd been then. And maybe more importantly, I started forgiving myself for not being over it sooner. Claire, my wife, noticed the change in me before I did. One night over dinner, she said, You seem lighter, not so clenched all the time. I smiled. Work's been good, she smirked. That the guy who made high school hell for you? I laughed. Yeah, that guy. She paused. And now? I took a sip of wine. He's just Ryan. She reached over and squeezed my hand. That's growth, babe. 3 months in, I invited Ryan out for a drink after work. Not a team event, not a meeting, just the 2 of us. He hesitated at first, then said, Yeah, I'd like that. We sat at a bar near the office, ordered burgers and beers, talked about life, not high school, not regrets. Just present-day things, favorite movies, bad dates, weird office snacks. At one point, he said, You know, I didn't expect to like working here this much. I raised my glass. That makes 2 of us. He smiled. Thanks for giving me a chance. I didn't do it for you, I said, half joking. He laughed. Fair enough, but deep down, maybe I had. Maybe I'd needed to give him a chance. so I could give one to myself, too. About 6 months after Ryan joined the team, we hit a rough patch. One of our major clients, a tech startup with too much ambition and too little patience, suddenly threatened to pull their contract over a lack of creative direction, which was nonsense. We'd given them multiple solid campaigns, but they kept changing their branding strategy every other week. Still, losing them would be a big hit. So we called a meeting. Everyone gathered in the main conference room, designers, copywriters, account managers, and Ryan. I'd half expected him to sit back, maybe nod along, maybe offer a few surface-level ideas. But he didn't. He stood up, walked to the whiteboard, and calmly laid out a plan. "I think we've been reacting instead of leading," he said. "They don't know what they want, and we've been treating their indecision like gospel." Then he outlined a new campaign direction. Bold, focused, clean, and more importantly, confident. When he finished, the room was quiet. Then one of the senior creatives, Maya, said, "That might actually work." We rolled with it, pitched it to the client the next day, and they bought in. Not just accepted it, they loved it. Said it was the first time they felt like we actually understood their vision. They signed on for 6 more months. That afternoon, I pulled Ryan into my office. "I'm impressed," I said. He smiled. "Thanks." Then I added, "Seriously, that was leadership and guts." He looked down, almost embarrassed. "I'm just glad it helped." "You're not just here to help," I said. "You're part of this now." He nodded slowly. "I appreciate that. More than you know." A few weeks later, something unexpected happened. Our HR manager, Teresa, called me. "Hey, did you know Ryan has a background in youth outreach?" I blinked. Number I didn't. Apparently, he used to volunteer at a summer camp for at-risk teens. One of our new interns mentioned him. Said he changed their life. That caught me off guard. After the call, I went to talk to him. He looked surprised that I knew. "I don't advertise it," he said. "Felt weird bringing it up here." "Why?" He shrugged. "Because it doesn't erase who I used to be, doesn't make me some kind of hero." I nodded. "But it says something." He sighed. "I guess I just got tired of being someone I couldn't respect. So I started showing up for people who felt invisible." He paused. "Maybe because I used to make them feel that way." That stuck with me. And when I say stuck, I mean it lingered in my chest for days. Not as guilt, not as pity, as perspective. Because here's what I realized. Sometimes the people we hate most at one point in our lives are the ones who eventually teach us the most about change. Not because they were right, but because they had the courage to become someone else. And a month later, something happened I didn't see coming. We had our quarterly all-hands meeting. Big room, slide deck, coffee, and awkward small talk. I was going over company goals when I asked for feedback from the team. Normal stuff. Then a newer hire raised his hand and said, "I just want to say, I've never felt more supported in a role, and that's mostly thanks to Ryan." Heads turned. Ryan looked stunned. "I mean it," the guy continued. "He listens. He backs us up. And he makes this place feel like a team." The room clapped. Ryan looked down, a little overwhelmed. Afterward, I caught him in the hallway. He shook his head. "I don't know what to do with that." I laughed. "Take the compliment. You earned it." He smiled. 10 years ago, no one would have said that about me." 10 years ago, I said, you weren't ready to hear it." A few weeks after that, we were having drinks after work. A small group, nothing official. Ryan and I ended up sitting next to each other at the bar. There was a lull in the conversation. Then he looked over and said, "Do you remember when I shoved your face into that locker junior year?" I blinked. The question came out of nowhere. "Yeah," I said slowly. He nodded. "I've never stopped being ashamed of that." I took a sip of my drink. "I hated you for it," I admitted. "For a long time." I don't blame you, but you're not that kid anymore. He looked at me, quiet, grateful. Thank you, he said. Don't thank me, I replied. Just keep proving it. And he did. Over the next few months, Ryan kept showing up as a teammate, a mentor, a person I trusted. We didn't become best friends. It wasn't some dramatic reconciliation movie, but we became something better. Real, honest, grown. It's funny how life doesn't give you the closure you expect. You don't get the big speech in the rain, no dramatic apologies on a stage, no audience to cheer when you win. Instead, it happens in small moments. Like the Tuesday morning when I came into the office early and found Ryan already there, sleeves rolled up, helping the IT guy reroute cables before anyone else arrived. Or the Thursday he stayed late with an intern who was nervous about presenting her first project. Or the Friday he came into my office and said, "I think I'm ready to lead a team, not because I want the title, but because I think I can help people the way I never helped you." That one hit hard. I stared at him for a second, then I nodded. We'll make it happen. And we did. By the end of the quarter, Ryan was leading a small but tight team, and he was good at it. Not just the logistics, but the people part. He gave credit, took responsibility, lifted others. One day I caught him printing a stack of name tags for a company event. He'd added pronouns next to every name. "Not everyone feels seen," he said when I asked. "Little things help." That would not have been the Ryan I knew in high school. Then came the big test. One of our major accounts, a national brand we'd worked with for years, needed a full campaign rebuild from scratch, with a tight deadline. I'd usually run point on something that big, but I handed it to Ryan. He blinked. "You sure?" I nodded. "I trust you." And I meant it. He led it like a pro. Organized brainstorms, managed the timeline, even mediated a heated disagreement between two senior designers without losing a beat. And when we presented to the client, they were floored. Said it was the best work we'd ever done. That night, as the team celebrated over dinner, Ryan pulled me aside. "I used to think being in charge meant power," he said. "Now I think it just means taking care of people." I smiled. "Took you long enough?" He laughed. "Some of us are slow learners." It's been 4 years since Ryan first walked into that interview. He's now a director at the company, has his own office, his own team. Sometimes, when I walk past his door and hear him laughing with his team or mentoring a nervous new hire, I think back to that boy in the high school hallway. The one who shoved me into lockers, the one who thought pain made him powerful, and I don't see him anymore, because he's not that person, not even close. I don't believe in fairy tales, but I do believe in growth. And forgiveness? It's not a gift you give someone else. It's what you give yourself, so you can stop carrying what broke you. My name is Matthew Cole. I'm 38 years old. And if you'd told me 10 years ago that the guy who made my high school years hell would one day be the person I trust most at work, I would have laughed in your face. But here we are. And I'm not laughing. I'm just grateful. Grateful that people can change. Grateful that I gave him a chance. And most of all, grateful that I gave myself one too. Because in the end, this story wasn't just about him. It was about who I chose to be, too. And I think, for the first time in a long time, I'm proud of that.